everyone. This is Amanda from devotioninaction.com, and I am here in 1 Corinthians 15:10, and it says, "But by the grace of God, I am what I am." And I'll continue reading that in just a moment, but I have these free printables that have a mirror on a stand and the word art for the identity of grace. And I think I'm going to use the big one because it's kind of tall and skinny, and it can go in that large format illustrating Bible from Dayspring. And I already had that shark picture on the back of this page, and so it's a little hard to see through, so I'm going to keep the little ones over here. I can sort of see the outline through there, but I have so much going on the opposite side of the page that it is a little difficult to see this. So when I'm in doubt, I can look over at that other sized printable and see what I'm trying to copy onto the page here. So 1 Corinthians 15:10 is, "But by the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace toward me was not in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me." So in his letter to the church at Corinth, Paul gives this statement about grace. "But by the grace of God, I am what I am." Paul's identity and calling. His life's work is rooted in, and only possible because of, God's overflowing grace. And so once I have this all lined out in pencil very lightly, and I have forgotten the little lines on the actual mirror, so we'll go back and pick those up later. I'm gonna grab my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen because I can watercolor over that. If you don't have a pen that does not react to watercolor and you're going to watercolor, you might want to go ahead and watercolor and then outline in black. So I'm going to do the identity of grace, so outlined in this black pen, and then outline that mirror in black pen as well. Just kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of line drawing out, copying those pencil marks. So right before this verse, in verse 9, Paul says, "For I am the least of the apostles, not worthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God." So Paul doesn't see himself as anything special. In fact, he recognizes that he was an enemy of Christ in the church before his conversion. He actively went around arresting and putting to death Jesus' followers. So he's made some mistakes, right? And he went whole hog after those mistakes. He was all in. And yet God was so gracious that he extended an invitation to Paul, revealing the truth of Jesus as the Messiah to him, and transformed him from enemy to apostle. So sometimes I look at myself. I take a look in the mirror like we've got here on our Bible art journaling. And to create kind of a glass mirror effect, I'm going to use just this light blue that I've kind of created here. And we're seeing a weird effect happening just because of, I don't know, I prepped this page and it grabbed a little bit more of the paint and more of the water in that one spot in the mirror. It doesn't bother me so much. It's just one of those things. I'm going to take kind of a metallic color from the Kuretake Starry Colors set that I have here and do the framing of the mirror, kind of the stand that's holding it in that metallic color. So sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and see only past mistakes and current failures. Sometimes I measure who I am based on others' opinions of me. And sometimes I only see how unworthy I am. Looking in the mirror, I'm unhappy with the woman staring back at me. But one of the amazing gifts of grace is that it does not depend on our worthiness. God's grace overflows to us because of who He is, not because of who we are. His grace is reflected when we look in the mirror and we are clothed with His righteousness rather than our rags of sin. So His grace changes our identity from enemy of God to a child of the King of Kings. I am God's workmanship, reborn in Him to accomplish the calling He plans for my life. That is the identity of grace. A woman who can do all things through Christ who strengthens her. Doesn't that sound great? That sounds pretty good to me. I will take that identity. I think we all need to kind of embrace that identity when we, in our natural state, are being hard on ourselves. Maybe deservedly so. Maybe we've done things that Paul deserved censure and punishment, and God gave him grace instead, right? I'm going to hit this with a heat tool and get it really nice and dry. And while I'm finishing up this page and getting it completely done, I want to give you an action step. I want you to think today about how you see yourself. How do you view your reflection in the mirror? Do you see it through a lens of grace? Has it become real to you that your past, your sins, and the opinions of others do not define you? Let's take a moment to speak the following things over ourselves. I am a child of the King. I am who God says I am. God's grace is enough for all of my mistakes, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'd love it if you'd share your thoughts about this devotional. Maybe if you have another statement that you think that goes along with this that we can speak over ourselves in the Facebook group, or tag me on Instagram with your picture of your post for this day. This is the identity of grace. Whether you've used my principle or not, you can post your journaling and tag me, or post it in our Facebook group. Okay, my mirror frame was really wobbly, so now I'm attempting to fix it with the big the big marker, and that was very wobbly too. I don't know. Perfection's not the goal, but I was having a lot of trouble with this today. So you can see, like, even those of us who do this a whole lot have trouble. So if you're new, just extend some grace to yourself and realize that it's not perfection that we're going for, but embracing that grace of God and realizing that our identity does not depend on us doing things perfectly, right? So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on day 9.